Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We just had a closed session in the back, so I'll now ask the clerk to rise and report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So council met in closed session and received information and provided direction on 2 acquisition or disposition of land matters and 1 item of potential litigation matter.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now rise, please, and for the national anthem. Okay, the land acknowledgement statement. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Councillor McCullen. Mike. Yeah.
You, Mr. Mayor, I have a disclosure on 3 items tonight: PSR 4, PWS 16, and the bylaw.
Okay, I'll look to you then as we come to each one of those to excuse yourself. Thank you. Presentations. I would like to invite Cindy Lee and Gord to come up, please. And we're going to have a presentation on the drum that we received during the Canada Games here. So.
Thank you. This is how it works. We work together, right? And that's what this is all about, particularly with that land acknowledgement earlier. We just wanted to come today to present the drum bag to the drum here that's being held here in good way in representation of its sister that is, also participating in Nunavut. So both drums were presented during the games, the summer games. The drum that is paired, sister drum paired with Nunavut, and this drum paired also with Wainfleet. The drums, they have there's a lot of teachings around them, and we don't have time to talk about that today, but each one of the drums, what has been shown on them is the medicines and the different plants and things that were here, and that pairing of that sisterhood, of the community connection, right? So with the drum being here, there is certain, things that we need to have with this drum and her as she is here, and giving her good medicine and her work that she does. So we have created a drum bag for her. And this drum bag is the exact same drum bag that we created as well, that went to Nunavut as well. So the Nunavut sister drum, that grandmother drum, and this grandmother drum here in Wainfleet have the exact same bag that they're wearing. And we see them as like the clothing, or like that protection, that blanket. And so the drum, we're presenting this drum bag today that we've done, Gord and I, to sit with this grandmother here as she's here doing her work in this community, right? And as much as they're so far away, and we think about the north and we think about where we are in the south, they're really connected a lot closer than that. So we have a braid of sweetgrass that we also will be placing inside of the drum on the inside. And this sweetgrass is it's a beautiful medicine because it represents the union when we are all one. We are one when we have that mind and we have that spirit and we have that heart and it's all focused into one. We're very, very strong. And the moment that begins to separate and come up separate to each other, then what happens there is we become not as strong. And so this is why we have the sweetgrass braided, and the sweetgrass will keep the drum, have a beautiful aroma, but also will remind us of that oneness and that connectiveness that we all have, and the importance of that in our communities. So we're really thankful that she's here, and my husband and I actually were able to be part of the feasting on these drums with Grandmother Jackie and Russ Bill when we did these drums. So, and we sat with them in the special place up in Queenston. So it was absolutely beautiful. So we'd like to present this for her, inside of her tonight, and then the drum bag that she can sit, with that drum bag and be under her, so that she can be shown and share her energies and her medicine. So.
Different place for me here. So it was just as a little information on this. I attended the ceremony at the Canada Games, and I don't know how many drums similar to this, identical virtually. There was probably 26 handed out to all municipalities and various organizations. And they sang as the drums. It was absolutely moving. It was a very emotional thing. And it was a wonderful thing to receive this drum. So thank you very much, very, very much for that. We want to make sure we look after it. On Remembrance Day, because as always, you folks attend Remembrance Day, so we'll bring it over on Remembrance Day as a very important part. So, thank you very much.
Any questions? Just give us a.
Yeah, we want to make sure we look after it, and it lasts forever. So I think so.
And she absolutely will love being part of these meetings as well.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much on behalf of Wainfleet. Thank you very much.
Two questions. Where are we going to display it? And should it be displayed with the bag off and the bag underneath it, or? Yeah, okay. I was going to ask, but I didn't want to get yelled at for asking questions.
Oh, you want to do a photo? Yeah.
They're gone.
Are you sure? Yeah, let's do that. Sure, move fast.
So, Kevin. Question. Oh, okay, never mind. I just.
Sorry about that. That's too bad. We can get him back for a photo later. Okay. Moving on to the mayor's announcements. Please note that the meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Thank you to all who attended the Wainfleet Fall Fair this past weekend. I was there for 2 days, and it looked to be a great success to me, and it went over very well. So thanks to everybody who organized it and who attended. While our offices will remain open, Council and staff will observe the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation this Friday, September 30th, by participating in Orange Shirt Day and flag raising with Every Child Matters commemorative flag. And you can see a couple of our councillors this evening have their orange shirts on. Also, from the Canada Games, we've received a box set of Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Game medals. These medals were designed by a resident within the Niagara region. The medal captures the beauty and history of the Niagara region, while also recognizing the up-and-coming Canadian athletes who participated in the 28th edition of the Canada Games. And there's the medals, so we got a nice box set of those, so we'll find a good spot to display those with pride. That was very nice. I'd like to note, this is really exciting. Gents Road Bridge is finished. Yes. It's a beautiful piece of work, triple culverts there, and I've seen one picture. I meant to get to it today and I didn't get there, but excellent work. Will last many decades into the future, and that's one of the things that we strive for, is when we do things like that, we don't want to have to do them over again in 10 or 20 years. So nice piece of work, and thank you, Richard, for organizing that, making that all happen, and Mark as well with the drainage part of it as well. Police Services Board meets Thursday, October 27th at 8:30, and our next regular meeting of council will be held November the 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m., and that's the last regular meeting during this term of council, and there is no meeting in October. So one more meeting, November the 1st, and then on to the new council. Okay, councillors' announcements and remarks. Councillor Cridland.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The Niagara Region Transit Commission will meet again Tuesday, October 4th at 3 o'clock. And just FYI, I have now taken that on-demand service. If anybody wants to know how great it is, they can call me. And the NPCA has its Balls Falls event again this Thanksgiving weekend. And of course, very excited to be back fully open. So hopefully some residents can get to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now I'm going to look to... Oh, sorry. My apologies. Councillor Van Vliet.
That's okay. Since there's no scheduled meeting in October, I just wanted to let people know that the Wainfleet Lions Club out at the Lake Lions Park, they're having a spooktacular Halloween fair October 29th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Just wanted to let the residents know that was going on. It's going to be a little bit noisier and there's going to be a lot of children, so just be aware of that.
Okay, thank you. So I look left and right, make sure are there any other announcements? Okay, seeing none. Moving on, our Madam Clerk has an announcement to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just a reminder that October 24th is Election Day. We're doing vote by mail like we've done in previous years. So this week, all eligible electors in the township will get a kit. If voters haven't received kits by the end of next week, give us a call and we'll do what we can to help. And for more information, we do have an election page on our website, so feel free to go on there as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or corrections on the draft of the minutes on the agenda for September the 6th? Seeing none. Okay, motion being that the minutes of the regular council meeting held September 6th, 2022 be adopted as circulated. Mover and a seconder for that, Councillor Cridland and Councillor McClellan. Any discussion? I see none. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We do not have a public meeting. Now we would like to invite Marty Mako. Hi, Marty. Up to the commander of the Mobile Integrated Health Niagara EMS. Come to the podium, please. And it's a 10-year anniversary of Wainfleet Community Response Unit. So this has been very important. And any comments or anything you do? We have a presentation for you. We have a plaque. Pardon me? Right. Yeah. Comments and oh, you have a presentation? Okay.
Thank you to the mayor and to the council for agreeing to hear our delegation. I'm Rick Farron. I am the interim chief for Niagara Emergency Medical Services. And as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, Marty Mako is commander of our mobile integrated health teams. And so, yeah, we're here to, as we've done in the past, speak to the community paramedic team that we have here in Wainfleet, some of the history and successes. And as he's the person responsible for that team right now, I'll just turn it over to Commander Mako and for the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, staff, watchers online. We're really excited to be here tonight to celebrate a milestone anniversary, the 10 years since the implementation of our community response unit, which truly is a partnership with the Township of Wainfleet. And that's why we thought it was worth taking the time to come here tonight to celebrate. And I have an agenda for the next 10 minutes, if I can do this properly. Down or to the right? To the right? One moment. There we go. So we're going to start with a reminder of the history and purpose of the Community Response Unit, and then following by a bit of an overview of the structure, because as Chief Farron mentioned, it's a hybrid role where they respond to 911 calls, but also perform proactive community home visits. Some data, some accomplishments, and highlighting the impact over the past decade that we've made in the community. But also we feel patient success stories are important. So I'm going to share a couple of actual stories of local residents who we've supported through this program, and finishing with some future plans for the CRU. So that's a media article you can see up there from the launch, actually, back in 2012. That was Danny Kerr, who was one of the original CRU paramedics from back in that time. And just a reminder of the history and how it started. So back on September 4th, 2012, a report was presented to Niagara Region's Public Health and Social Services Committee regarding the creation of what was called a Community Response Unit, or CRU, for the Township of Wainfleet. The recommendation from the report stated that the region approve the implementation of a single paramedic community response unit for the Township of Wainfleet to provide first response capacity to emergencies, as well as to offer enhanced community health services. Now, this recommendation was supported and approved, and the Wainfleet CRU officially began operations on November 11th, 2012. So Remembrance Day was actually the launch of the program. And to answer the question of why was this CRU needed? The purpose, Niagara EMS is required to provide equitable and seamless service throughout the Niagara region, irrespective of municipal boundaries. This is reflected by the approved response time performance targets that we have for both urban and rural areas of Niagara region. However, Wainfleet is the only municipality within the region that did not have and still does not have an ambulance resource directly stationed within the community. So instead of having emergency responses with an ambulance base situated within Wainfleet, they were covered by ambulances stationed in adjoining municipalities. So the responses would come from Port Colborne or Dunnville, wherever the closest response was in a neighboring municipality. So this helps to answer the question of why a resource was needed within the boundaries of Wainfleet itself. Now, when we were developing this program, we did look at what the optimal structure would be, because the primary responsibility of the CRU is to respond to all emergency medical 911 calls within the Wainfleet catchment area, and the goal being to reduce those response times while an ambulance is en route from one of those other bases that I mentioned. However, in addition to the 911 response, there is a highly trained advanced care paramedic who is now also available as a community resource. So their role is to fill gaps in basic healthcare needs, perform those proactive health assessments, otherwise known as community paramedicine. You may have heard that term before, community paramedicine. I'll explain about that a bit more. So just operationally speaking, the CRU paramedic responds from the Wainfleet Fire Station 2 on Park Street, just across the street over there, and they work 12 hours a day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. So it truly is a partnership, them responding out of the fire station. Before I move on, I had a few more points here just about their community paramedic role specifically. Their target audience is primarily senior citizens and residents of the municipality of Wainfleet, though they can service any background. It tends to be mostly seniors who they're working with. And the goal is to help them remain safe and healthy while living independently in their own homes. Over the past 10 years, we've supported hundreds of residents in this way, and we currently have 90 active clients as part of the program. We tend to enroll about 3 to 5 new clients per month, and we support them with a combination of proactive home visits, unscheduled visits when they call us and ask for a same-day assessment, and support over the phone. We provide a phone number during that initial intake visit so they can call us to request a home visit or just ask a question about their health. The other side of the work is obviously the emergency response, and we respond to roughly 300 emergency calls per year in the Township of Wainfleet, and response times have remained stable despite the current pressures on our EMS resources, which we are quite happy with. And it's interesting to note that over this past decade, 911 call volume in Wainfleet has not increased to the extent that it has in other Niagara municipalities, which has led us to wonder if this prevention focus of the CRU resource has indeed been effective in lessening the need for emergency resources. Measuring prevention is a difficult task, but we feel this presents an opportunity for further research, perhaps, into the effectiveness of the CRU model. It's been really interesting to see it evolve over the past 10 years. Now, responding to these 911 calls has allowed us to enter into your local residents' lives, sometimes just for the duration of the emergency, and sometimes for a longer duration. Some of these calls have shown a need for increased support post-emergency. This is where a community resource has been shown to help. Sometimes that same day, other times a follow-up is scheduled with the resident or their family member to provide further health assistance and guidance. The picture on the screen there you'll see is our location at the fire hall, and we've put up a new banner there above the front door, and thanks to Morgan and his team for helping get that installed to celebrate the 10th anniversary. It's nice, close to the 75th anniversary banner that you have there. We made a bit of a joke, maybe we'd make ours twice as big, but we didn't. We made it the same size, and they fit up there, so thank you to your team for putting that up for us. I wanted to share a couple of patient stories because I think that really makes it tangible and brings it home how we're helping the residents in your community. The first one starts in October 2015 when a Wainfleet paramedic received a call from a PSW who thought a client of hers might benefit from the CRU program. Kathy, we'll call her, was an 84-year-old widow with no known relatives. Her comorbidities included a cardiac history, respiratory issues, and renal failure. She was reliant on the use of a walker with a history of falls. During her intake visit and follow-up visits, there were concerns that warranted assessment in the hospital. She was transported, assessed, and sent home with medications that day, along with a referral for wound management in the home. Over a 6-year period, CRU paramedics conducted phone assessments and home visits with Kathy, with many visits resulting in communication with her family doctor, which often led to a home visit by that doctor or an updated prescription. In 2019, Kathy became less compliant accepting medical interventions. She signed a DNR and became resistant to leaving her home in fear of not returning. Her wish was to die in her own home. CRU paramedics increased their visits accordingly, and communication with care providers became more frequent. In August 2021, paramedics were called to Kathy's home by a PSW who was concerned about her failing health. Kathy was adamant about staying home, knowing that without medical intervention, she would die. After many conversations between the doctor and the client, the doctor was in agreement and end-of-life services were put in place. Kathy was kept comfortable during this time, and on August 1st, 2021, Kathy died peacefully in her own home with her nurse practitioner by her side at the age of 89, which was her goal. A second story, we're going to call this man John. He was a 94-year-old man who lived alone on his family farm, along with his 2 small dogs. His son and daughter lived in town and visited their dad regularly, but John valued his independence and had no desire to leave his home. He was referred to the CRU program by his doctor as a prevention measure, with regular home visits to ensure he remains safe and healthy. Part of the initial intake visit involved setting patient-centered goals of care. For John, a big part of his daily routine involved walking to pick up the mail and newspaper from his mailbox. The mailbox was located at the end of the driveway, which was quite a distance from his house. Over the past year, John shared how this routine was important to him, but he was getting short of breath during his walk, especially since he had to go both ways, and this was making him nervous. The CRU team and John worked together to devise a creative solution. They spread out a number of wooden chairs along the length of the driveway, from his front door all the way to the mailbox. This way, John could sit down and take a rest whenever he needed, while still accomplishing his goal of getting his mail and getting some exercise at the same time. Thought those were two different examples, but highlighted how we work together with your residents, because this is a patient-centered program. So we first identify what their goals of care are to keep them safe and healthy at home, and then we work together collaboratively to help to meet those needs. So I hope that information was useful, provided a bit of quantitative data, but also some patient stories to highlight the success of this program over the past 10 years. And now I'm going to hand the floor over to Chief Farron to speak about some of our future plans.
Thank you, Marty. We could have spent the night telling you, or the few minutes we have here, telling you all kinds of numbers and statistics, but I think it's really important to hear those personal stories. But I will say that in terms of the call volume that we've seen here in Wainfleet over the lifespan of this program, that is really interesting, because elsewhere in Niagara EMS's call volume growth has been 6.2% on average year over year, growing, whereas here in Wainfleet, we've actually seen the call volume decline since we've started this program here. So we really need to understand exactly what's happening and how this is helping perhaps residents avoid ED visits. So moving forward, we obviously need to find some long-term home for the CRU. The paramedics have gotten by for many years parking the unit outside there. So we have a few options, and we've met with Chief Alcock and staff talking about options here in Wainfleet for that expansion, or that long-term goal, I should say, whether we look at potentially the space we're in now, if that becomes available, or whether we look at building something new once the Wainfleet Fire Department moves to their new location. So those are talks that are ongoing right now. In the meantime, we definitely need to carry on having something available here for those staff to do their important work. So thank you very much for hearing our presentation, and we'd be happy to take any questions should anyone have some.
Okay, well, I'll just say thank you very much for coming this evening and presenting. Truly amazing, the program, and how it's helping our residents. Those two cases that you highlighted, really amazing. And I find it fascinating that our numbers are going down where else the calls for service are going up. So you may have hit on something there that, a future program that you may want to look at for all of Niagara. We thank you very much on behalf of council and the residents of Wainfleet. The program's a huge success. We thank you for that, and we look forward to it continuing and helping our citizens. I have a small token of appreciation for you. I'd like to get a photograph, and I'll come around for that here. Grateful appreciation for dedicated service to our municipality and our residents, presented to the Wainfleet Community Response Unit on its 10-year anniversary by the Council of the Township of Wainfleet. So on behalf of all our councillors, Rick, thank you very much. Thank you. Marty, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we look for a mover and I should announce the motion first, that the presentation From Marty Mako, Commander, Mobile Integrated Health, Niagara EMS, here to make a delegation respecting the 10-year anniversary of the Wainfleet Community Response Unit be received as information. Mover, seconder for that, Councillor Quillen and Councillor Gilmore. Any discussion? I guess I should say, are there any questions anybody else would like to ask the, are there any other questions? No, we're good?
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you again.
Yep.
Okay, so all in favor of receiving that report? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to staff reports and recommendations. Admin staff report, capital project update. And we'll look for that one, please.
So thank you. Through the Mayor to all of Council, Administrative Staff Report 19 is just a capital project update for Council in regards to the 28 approved capital projects that were approved earlier this year in the budget. So 10 of the projects have been completed and invoices have been received, payments have been made. 17 are in progress or recently have been completed and we're just awaiting invoicing. And I would ask if Council has any questions on any particular projects. You can try to direct them through me, but I will likely defer to the lead on the project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions right off on this? Okay. Donna? Councillor Cridlin, sorry.
No, thank you. Through you, Mayor. I know, I just wanted to thank staff for the report. It's very informative, and obviously it's a good news story, so thank you for that.
Okay, I see a motion on this one here. Admin Staff Report 19-2022 regarding capital expenditures to date be received for information. Mover, seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan, Councillor Van Vliet. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried, thank you. And we'll go back to Ms. Louie, please, for the auditor report and draft financial report.
Thank you. So through the Mayor to all of Council, Administrative Staff Report 20 is regarding the audit strategy and report and the draft financial statements. So the audit has been completed and the auditors have issued a clean audit opinion, meaning that the financial statements that are presented before you, they've identified present fairly in all material respects. So as part of the recommendation to the staff report, it is recommended that staff allocate any operational surpluses to be allocated to a reserve account to be spent in future years. So my recommendation, which isn't specifically outlined in this report, would be that Council direct staff to create what's called a rate stabilization reserve, and we allocate any future operational surpluses to this reserve unless otherwise directed by Council. So you're not indefinitely obligating future councils to allocating any surpluses to this reserve, but the purpose of this reserve is to allocate any surpluses, operational surpluses in an existing year to help offset any additional increases in future years. So if we received notice that, for example, something simple to identify, insurance was going to increase 50%, 50% insurance increase on a policy that's $200,000, let's say, is quite significant for the township to kind of accommodate in 1 year's budget without seeing a kind of a significant increase in the tax levy. So many municipalities across Ontario and specifically in the region have such a reserve, and it's just to help say, like, for example, if some of our budgets were coming in a little bit higher, we could use this reserve to offset. So we could say come in at a 4% without kind of sabotaging our contributions to capital and our infrastructure levy. So we wouldn't necessarily be making a decision that would hurt the future of our infrastructure or kind of put us a step backwards in terms of the infrastructure levy, but it would help us to kind of maintain more of a level increase year over year.
Okay, before I go to the motion, I'll look for questions on that, please. Councillor Van Vliet?
Questions on what Mallory just discussed?
On the budget, yeah, and this rate stabilization.
Okay, that was two separate things.
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Okay. Full report.
So my questions are, because I was asked if this was Is there a specific date that this audit was supposed to be posted by, and was there a penalty we're going to be caught in for not having it posted?
Thank you. So through Councillor Van Vliet to all of council. So no, there isn't a specific date to which the audit is supposed to be performed by. So our audit firm, we go to tender to select our audit firm. We use a local audit firm out of Port Colborne, as do many local municipalities in Niagara. So basically, if they schedule a municipality in, every single week that they have is scheduled in, or they're not making money and they probably wouldn't still be in business. So through COVID, a couple of things happened, and some municipalities weren't ready, or they were ready and they got bumped from one way to the other. But typically speaking, our audit is normally at the end of June. Hasn't always been that way. It's been as early as April and as late as September before. Definitely COVID threw a monkey wrench, but there's no legislated guideline as to when it needs to be performed or when it needs to be posted. They have their own guidelines in terms of the audit standards as to when they have to produce the documents once the audit's been completed, what they have to do to archive the file, and when they have to produce final statements for us to be published. And there is no monetary penalty in terms of timing as to when this was performed.
Thanks, Mel.
Okay, Councillor McClellan, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The budget surpluses that we have for operations, so I get it, you said if insurance goes up $100,000, there's some money sitting there. But let's pick on planning. If they run out of budget and they need $10,000, they're just going to come and take $10,000 out of this, or how does that work?
So through the mayor to Councillor McClellan. So not necessarily, so it's the budget overall. So although each department kind of has their own allocation in terms of spending, the surplus is kind of, we're a team at that point. So with the exception of building, because it's self-sufficient, the building budget. But no, generally speaking, if a department knows that they're going to go over on a certain budget line, they would try to accommodate that within a different budget line, or it would be something that was unexpected, in which case they would come to council to state the reason that they're going to go over budget and to seek approval from council, because technically we can't spend outside of budget. And it would be done only at year end, so it's not going to be multiple times people are going to be coming to council requesting this. It would be once the audit was performed, once we have audited figures, that this transfer would then be made.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Mallory, for the report. I think your idea is an excellent idea. As far as the rate stabilization reserve, I guess the details of it will need to be fleshed out. My just early thinking comments would be that the funds that go in a given year don't sit there beyond 24 months, like maybe one budget cycle, but anything that, let's say that we put in the fall of 2022 would have to be applied no later than the budget approval of 2024. So that I just don't want to create another account where we become the bank for the taxpayer. So I would hesitate to say that you have to spend it all in the next year, because that doesn't give you a lot of fluidity in what you need to do. But I don't want to see it tied up. But I think it's a great idea and should be quite beneficial.
Thank you. Yeah, we had discussion on this today, and one of the things is exactly that point, is that you don't want a big bucket full of money sitting there when we're having pressures in all sorts of other areas. So it's to stockpile a little bit at a time and use it where we need to offset pressures. And we had a good conversation about that today. So I think it's a great idea. And as Councillor Gilmore said, just to keep it in check and it doesn't grow too big, that we're banking all the taxpayer money in it. I mean, we have enough financial pressures every year that, it can be used here or there, or to offset, increases in levy. Who knows? There's all sorts of areas, but it's a great idea. So, okay, so then, sorry, Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, again, just from the conversations, what I think I'd like to reinforce is that every budget cycle, this will be a subject of conversation anyway as we see it transferred in, the amount that then becomes transparent. Again, another transparency feature here that's fantastic. So it's new, it's the right idea. I like the recommendation as well, but we will get more details as we hit budget cycles, et cetera. So maybe just if there's a little bit more to speak on the next budget cycle, maybe what we could maybe expect to see, and that would get us going. Thank you.
So through the mayor to Councillor Cridlin, yes, so this would then be like on the reserve schedule that you see with the infrastructure levy, with the infrastructure reserve, the insurance reserve, the equipment reserve. This would be a line item that's outlined on the reserve, so you would see the balance there. We wouldn't budget to contribute into this reserve, so it wouldn't be a budgeted figure. This would be oftentimes the surpluses that are experienced are kind of timing issues. We budget to do certain things like the fire hall, for example, or if we purchase a piece of equipment, we might procure it. We might not receive the equipment or pay for the equipment until a future year. So that would then be just kind of put into the stabilization reserve and then funded from this stabilization reserve, because we have to capture kind of what went in and out during that fiscal period. So it would be reported, and during the budget deliberations, council could direct staff at any point to draw from that reserve, whatever the balance may be, to mitigate or offset any levy pressures that might be facing in the current year.
Okay, yeah, excellent idea, excellent work on that, Mallory. And I would like to also just say that I compliment all the staff and our treasurer for sure on our clean audit. Again, year after year, Wainfleet turns in a clean audit. And so for the taxpayer, they can rest assured that the money is being looked after properly, and when it's audited, it comes in and everything is in good shape. So we're very proud of that, and that's all our staff, especially the treasurer. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for making that all work well. Okay, so I'm going to read the following motion that report, admin staff report 2022 be received, and that the 2021 auditors report, council communication of audit strategy and results be received for information, and that council approve the 2021 draft financial report, and that council direct staff to allocate the operating surplus into reserve accounts. I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore. Is that not... Okay, so Madam Clerk is just suggesting that part of that motion be that council direct the treasurer to create that extra surplus rate stabilization, and then allocate operating surplus into it as we need to. So we'll add that to Councillor Gilmore.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Just further to that, also flesh out how it's going to, the timelines that I spoke about, as far as, like, I would want to see a report with, here's how you propose that we're going to handle it, just so that it's clear in future years how we're going to continue to allocate those funds in future budget cycles.
So through the mayor to Councillor Gilmore and all of council, so I definitely can come back with a report in terms of the purpose and regulations or wishes, let's say, in terms of that reserve. However, in order for the auditors to actually move any money in it to be reported on the financial statements, I need a clear motion from council that, like, I can't just create a reserve on my own. Council has to make a motion to create the reserve, and then I can come back in terms of when that's used. But it will be brought up every
right, no, that's fine. I mean, I'm obviously in support of creating the reserve. I also just want to see the ground rules for how we're going to, it's two separate ideas, I understand. So I apologize for.
Okay, I'll go to the CAO.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to council. So the motion should be receiving and approving the audited financial statements. Direction from council that the rate stabilization reserve be established for the Township of Wainfleet, and direction to staff to report back with sort of a detailed framework for the operation, conduct, and implementation of that reserve going forward. So a 3-point thing, if that's acceptable to council.
Okay, so that is the motion. Thank you, Mr. CAO, for that. Moved by Councillor Gilmore, seconded by Councillor Van Vliet. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. That's a big step forward for us right there. Okay, moving on to the Community and Development Services Staff Report, the Municipal Banner Program. And I'll look to, I think, Sarah to speak to that. Lindsay, is Lindsay? Oh, there she is online. Hello, Ms. Earl, and we look forward to your report. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This report provides options to assist council with their consideration and selection of the winter theme banners to be erected along Highway 3 through the Wainfleet Village this upcoming holiday season. Through the 2022 budget process, council approved 2 sets of 16 banners with hardware. One will be winter themed, the other will be a spring-summer design, which we will be addressing at a later date. Staff have already secured the required MTO permits for the banner installation. Staff have pre-selected a few designs with red or blue background to match our township logo to be included, and generic greeting of either happy holidays or season's greetings. Please note that the options provided are only examples and are not the exact final designs, as the graphics designs have to be prepared with our logo. So I'm just looking to council right now for their preference on a selected winter themed banner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So has everybody got that page up?
What page number is it? Yeah, I know it's waiting. Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Van Vliet. I'm still trying to find the...
That's okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Lindsay. Weren't we going to be directing or giving this to the schools to do? Because did we lose that somewhere? I'm a bit confused.
Oh, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the inquiry, Councillor. Yes, we were going to have a pre-selected general winter theme, and then we were going to reach out at council's suggestion to either local artisans, the schools, through the library, or just have an open selection for the next set of banners for the spring-summer theme. Or maybe it's a welcome sign. So there's some options for the future flags. These banners are going to be the generic winter ones.
Okay, thanks. I was confused. I thought it was going to schools. But okay, thanks.
Okay, and my understanding, Ms. Earl, is you're looking for us to select one this evening for moving ahead on this?
Yes, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be staff's preference so that we can get them ordered, have the graphic designs done, and we can have them installed for this upcoming holiday season, mid-November.
Okay. Everybody got the page up with them on there?
Yes.
I like number A myself, so anybody else?
I'd go with B or D.
B or D? Right, that show up nice. Councillor Gilmore? B? So A is out so far, so we're down to B and D.
Actually, if B was red, it would be better. Imagine that.
Okay, so
4
does
years,
everybody like
finally
B
agree on something.
in red? B in red?
Oh, it's got to be blue. It's got to be blue.
Can they be green?
For Christmas.
Red is great. Season's greeting, Township of Wainfleet.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the
Item-
presenter, would it be possible to get alternating one red, one blue, and get a couple that way?
There you go.
Uh,
What a moderator.
Complicated.
What a moderator.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Staff had pre-selected these designs from a catalog of multiple designs, so there wasn't any that were exactly the same in different colors. So if council chooses, they would have to have different banners, designs with different colors. So staff's suggestion would be to either choose red or blue, or choose season's greetings or happy holidays.
Okay, so we like B, but in red, but you're saying we can't do that. So we're looking at D.
I don't understand why we can't have 8 of one color and 8 of the other. I prefer the season's greetings to happy holidays, because happy holidays, people take, depending on your culture, they take holidays at different times. So season's greetings is my preference. I just like the blue better. This isn't political. But I don't understand why we can't have 2 or 50-50. I don't get that.
Lindsay, is that possible, or does it cost
Through you,
more
Mr.
to
Mayor,
choose? Sorry, go
If
ahead.
council is satisfied with the version of Season's Greetings over Happy Holidays, staff will select the designs in both red and blue that are similar.
All right,
if
that's
that's
great.
council's preference.
Because I agree, Season's Greetings is a better option in my mind as well. And so we'll go with Season's Greetings, red and blue. Is everybody okay? Yes?
I'm good.
Donna? Or Councillor Critland, sorry.
No, thank you. I don't have design preferences particularly, so the fact that we're having banners, I think people will be thrilled. And I totally agree that Season's Greetings is the better way to go, so the color for me is less important in a municipality.
Actually, just a comment on that. You'd be surprised how many people have said to me, Wainfleet doesn't have anything Christmassy out along the road. Why can't we have, some festive stuff? So that's how this got started. I know I've heard about it from a few people, so we've taken that step. Okay, so the motion being Community and Development Services Staff CDS 004-2022, respecting the municipal banner program be received, and that staff be directed to order their preferred municipal banner for the winter theme as determined by council. The options have been chosen, and so that is fulfilled. A mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Van Vliet. Is there any further discussion? Councillor McClellan.
How many are we getting?
I think it was 16, she said.
Okay.
Was it 16? 16.
Okay.
8 and 8. So, any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we'll move on now to our drainage staff report, and I look to our drainage superintendent to speak to that, please.
Great. Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So this staff report is just an update to our drainage program for the year. Maintenance has been progressing pretty smoothly, with mainly due to the dry weather, but it's greatly appreciated. So the bulk of our work this year is occurring in the southeast portion of the township. But additionally, as mentioned earlier in the previous staff reports, the 2 capital projects for the drainage works, Gents Road Bridge and then the Beezer Drain Culvert on Gents Road have both been completed as well. The other big ticket items are the active engineering report updates. So there's been quite a bit of public consultation and site meetings following kind of the COVID quiet period. So there's been lots of design and survey work to follow up with those. Additionally, 2 new reports were accepted and initiated through council over the summer. So we had a new petition drain and another improvement project. So then one other item I would like to highlight in the staff report is that we had prospectively scheduled an information meeting in November for the consolidated South Wainfleet Drain project to start finally wrapping that project up. We'll be rescheduling that for the next week, and then we'll be notifying all the impacted property owners about that. So going through all of those active engineering reports, we do have those listed on the drainage page on the website, so property owners can keep up to date as to when the meetings are being held through the website. And I'd be happy to receive any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll go questions first. Go ahead, Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Mark, for the report. Can you update us on any changes or in status of the work that needs to be done on the Big Forks?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in that report, I mentioned that we have quite a few, about a dozen, more than a dozen reports that are out of date before any maintenance work were to take place. And one of those that I mentioned in the report is the Big Forks. That is at the top of the list for needing an engineer's report update before we were to do the maintenance on it.
Okay, Councillor Van Vliet.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the report, Mark. I didn't hear you clearly. Did you say that the information meeting for the CSW was not going to be in November?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we haven't set the rescheduled date yet. It'll be that next week. So we had originally set it for November 22nd, which is the first meeting of council of the new term. So we'll be following up the next week, which is November-December split. So we're just going back and forth with the engineer, and once that's confirmed, we'll let everyone know.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? Okay, motion being that Drainage Staff Report 006-2022 respecting the Township's drainage program update be received. Mover seconder for that, please. Councillor Van Vliet and Councillor McClellan. Is there any discussion? I'll just say one point. I see all the time the advantage of having our full-time drainage superintendent here. As a council, when we made that decision, that was a really smart decision we made. As a couple of the old-time farmers said to me when I was campaigning 4 years ago, nothing is more important in Wainfleet than our drains, because we're not very good if we're all underwater. So, Mark has done a fantastic job and continues to do a great job. I've heard some from people, seen him out walking and tromping on the drains. So the hiring of him full-time has been a huge advantage to us. And so I thank you very much for that, Mark, and your work all the time. And we keep the water flowing. So it's excellent. So, okay. All in favor of that? That is carried. Thank you. Did you have a question?
No, I voted for it, but I'm just telling you, I got to leave for the.
All right, yeah. Thank you. And so Councillor McClellan is excusing himself due to a conflict. And we move on to Planning Staff Report, PSR 4-2022, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, File Number Z05-2022W, Lofen Farms Limited, IBI Group - Agent. And we'll look to our planner, Ms. Ivins, to speak to that, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. This report is a review of the applicable planning policies as it relates to the zoning bylaw amendment application submitted by IBI Group on behalf of Lofen Farms for the property known municipally as 12017 Station Road. So the proposed zoning amendment is needed to comply with provincial, regional, and township planning policy regarding the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling where the retained agricultural lands are rezoned to prohibit the construction of a dwelling in perpetuity. So in addition to prohibiting dwellings on Part 2, the proposed amendment seeks to add site-specific zones to recognize a reduced lot area for Part 2 and to recognize existing setbacks and height of the dwelling and accessory buildings on Part 1. It is my opinion that the application meets the applicable provincial, regional, and township planning policies, and I have recommended that the application be approved, and the implementing bylaw has been added to this evening's agenda as bylaw number 43.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to questions first on that. Anything there anybody has questions on? Okay, seeing none. The motion being Planning Staff Report 4-2022 be received, and that zoning bylaw amendment Z05-2022W for lands described as Concession 1, Part Lot 19, RP 30R-13314, Part 1, known municipally as 12017 Station Road, be approved for the reasons outlined in Public Staff Report 4-2022, and that the application be deemed consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and other matters of provincial interest, and that the zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix C be adopted. Have a mover, a seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Quillen and Councillor Gilmore. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. The next item is Public Works Staff Report, PWSR 16-2022, regarding award of tender for Churchill Avenue Storm Restoration Project. And I look to our Operations Superintendent to speak to that, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council. This Public Works Staff Report 16-2022 is in respect to a restoration project on Churchill Avenue. The project sustained, or the location sustained severe damage back in October storm a couple years ago, and we've been gradually trying to repair the damage in various locations throughout the past couple years. This location adds a little bit tricky environment because we actually have a storm sewer that outlets underneath the ramp. Currently, the ramp was undermined during the storm, and the storm outlet itself was damaged. So this project entails the replacement of the storm sewer from Churchill Avenue through to the lake, as well as restoration of the actual concrete ramp that was previously at that location. Engineering firm Ellis Engineering assisted township staff in preparing a tender package. We reached out to various groups in the local area to try and sustain some bids. And the bid results, we managed to receive 3 bids attached in the report, and staff is looking for direction from council to award the project.
Okay, thank you. And I'll look for a discussion on this before I read the motion in regards to the potential options. Any discussion? No? Okay. A motion being Public Works Staff Report 16-2022 respecting the award of tender for Churchill Avenue Storm Restoration Project be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to engage the services of CRL Campbell Construction to complete the Churchill Avenue Storm Restoration Project. Mover seconder, please. Councillor Cridland, Councillor Gilmore. Any other discussion? Councillor Cridland.
Sorry, through you, Mayor, I'm not sure if you just clarify that this is the lowest bidder. So we are proceeding again with the lowest bidder, correct? Thank you.
That's correct. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question. Richard, the balance of the expense is engineering, and is there anything else?
Through your worship, we end up having some engineering costing as well as permit costing from the MPCA. We've been waiting for the permit for a lengthy period of time because there were staffing shortages at the NPCA. But as of today, I actually paid for the permit as of 2, I believe, this afternoon. So the permit should be ready to go once the award is in place.
So if I can continue. So the difference between the tender and the amount that we budgeted is almost we budgeted almost double. That's where I'm trying to figure out about the rest.
Through your worship to Councillor Gilmore, the second portion of the project that was submitted to council during budget was Bellevue Beach Outlet that sustained damage. But because we are doing engineering currently on Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Avenue, one of those aspects was to review the actual outlet that we were trying to repair as part of this project. And we've done some survey work, and before we decide to repair that portion of it, we're going to make sure that we don't have to replace it in the first place. We have to make sure that the outlet is sized properly for the new design of the drainage works that we need to do on Bellevue and Hill. So we've postponed that portion of the project, and that portion will be put towards next year.
Okay, so the budgeted amount of $213,000 that includes other things other than the 110 that we're awarding for Churchill then?
That's correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Motion's on the floor. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Review of correspondence. Is there any, I'll wait for Councillor McCollum. On the bylaw, yeah. He'll stay because of the bylaw. Yeah. Any correspondence anybody wishes to lift out for discussion or anything? Okay, seeing none. We'll go to the bylaws. And the following bylaws be read and passed this 27th day of September, 2022. 43, 2022 being a bylaw pursuant to provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to amend zoning bylaw 34, 2014 of the Corporation of the Township of Wainfleet with respect to those lands forming part of Lot 19, Concession 1 RP 30R 13314, Part 1 in the Township of Wainfleet, known municipally as 12017 Station Road. Mover, seconder for that, please. Councillor Gilmore, Councillor Van Vliet. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Are there any notices of motion? Thank you, Councillor McClellan. Are there any notices of motion from yourself, Councillor McClellan? No. Okay. We'll move on to motion that we move into closed session. The council now move into closed session to discuss item under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees. One item, a cost recovery matter. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Cridland. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll now move into closed session.